What up, guys? It's the Mads Gamer back here with another video, and today we'll be doing the Sun Forgotten Part 2. And here we go. Within the void of a spiritual plane, two beings of immeasurable power were discussing a topic brought up after 10 years of waiting. The first resembled a tall, fit, sickly looking yet handsome man with snow white hair, in contrast to his appearance from 10 years ago. He bore more resemblance to a human than the deity that most see him as. That being was known as the Shimigami, the one who reigns over those who have died, leading them towards the respective paths in the afterlife. The second was a beautiful, curvaceous woman with long hair as black as the night sky. She was known as the goddess of creation and light, resembling what most would think the giver of life would look like. In contrast to their status as deities, they were acting rather human, comparing what they were doing now to to, to what their godly duties were. Shimigami was prostrating in front of his younger sister Emoto while crying comedically as he begged for mercy. Standing tall in front of him with her foot tapping him, eyebrowing, twitching in irritation was very, very angry Kami. Shimigami swore he could see himself behind her, while pitying eyes directed towards himself as he would definitely be going to the after she was done with him. Well, what do you have to say for yourself, Aniki? Kami spoke in a syrup-sweet sing-song tone of voice. A demonic smile on her face with her eyes closed, her brow still twitching in irritation. After hearing about his master plan to remove the child of prophecy from earthly attachments in order to prevent one side from gaining the upper hand due to winning over his heart. However, he removed the attachment that was supposed to reside within her jurisdiction. He dealt with those who were dead and needed to pass on to the after, not those who were still living. I'm sorry, Kami-chan. I was just trying to ensure the state of the physical world stayed in balance. I wasn't thinking straight. You have to deal with souls in the birth of a child. A prophecy was christened. I didn't want to deal with more souls later on if one side gained the advantage. Forgive me, please, begging his begging his sister for any mercy on his soul. Shimigami pleaded, giving his reasons for usurping his control over the issue that belonged to his sister's domain. Sighing, Kami stopped her foot from tapping and her brow from twitching. Running her hands down her face, she caused only a groan at the complications that her idiotic Aniki caused. Not only did he interfere with the living, he probably ruined the family because he wanted to skip out on work in the future. Opening her eyes and revealing her scratchy immigrant eyes, she glared at her brother. You idiot, do you know how much you messed up? You could have destroyed our family because of your laziness. You're such an idiot. Why'd I have to deal with such a lazy, inconsiderate, sloppy, dumb brother like you? Coming rug, grabbing Shimigami by the collar of his kimono and shaking him violently, while angrily lecturing him about his use of shortcuts to cut his time dealing with work down. After she finished lecturing her brother, she dropped him, panting, trying to catch her breath after her angry lecture. Looking at on the ground with his normally onyx eyes replaced with sort Shimigami could only think whatever other guy had saved him from his sister's wrath. After regaining his conscience and composure, he explained the situation with the child of prophecy to his sister, along with what has happened in his life. Naturally, he was beaten badly due to his regenerated abilities tied to his status as a god. His sister doesn't hold back. After his beating, his sister looked at him, her eyes still angry but now serious. Seeing the look in his sister's eyes, Shimigami quickly bearing him serious as well. Anarchy, how do you know that one side won't gain the advantage? From your reports, he doesn't care for his family anymore, and by extension, the village that he resides in, due to the neglect and ignorance of his existence. What to say that what to say we won't turn on them if any village or power tempts him with the offer of power, wealth, or family? A child is incapable of thinking rationally with their mind as most of their logic and reason turn for emotion. He could be unstable and that could only cause imbalance. You know that just because you can observe him doesn't mean you know the inner workings of his psyche. Kami stated not trusting what her brother knew, what he was doing, or even what he was thinking. Removing the love of feeling was a twisted act of in itself, but then removing the hope of every feeling love from the place that he was growing up in, that was the most twisted thing her brother had ever done. Looking her sister right now, Shimigami didn't flinch like he would normally would for her class. Kami-chan, I know that I made a lot of mistakes in the eternity that we known each other, but I do mean a lot of mistakes, but this isn't a mistake. I thought I removed the feeling of love from that child's family and village, and I know that what you're telling me is true. But what I have told you yet or are the final pieces of the information from my report regarding the one who has taken a child under his wing. At the end of the statement, Kami lost her glad eyes and widened by the amount by minute amount. What? Don't tell me a single person has secured the loyal child of privacy for themselves, Kami shouted, fearing for the state of the psychic plane if a corrupt individual had managed to place the child under of privacy under their control. But her concern with the losses, her brother shook his head and with a smile sour gracing his features. No need to concern yourself, my dear sister. The one who secured possibly the only position in the child's heart is passed on. After that, Kami eyes widened considerably. Concern and fear evident in her voice, Kami couldn't help but shout her question at her brother. Don't tell me that he's unstable now. There's no way that a child who will remain the same, having the only source of love ripped from them. But again, she was met with the same smile as before. Like I was saying before, you really interrupted me, Kami. Kami had decency to blush at her accents. The one who had shown that the child loved also made it known that he would be passing on to the child on into the afterworld before his time came. That act alone would most likely cement the fact that the child of prophecy will remain neutral in the physical plane, though his heart will be frozen over and he will not vent his anger and hate on the world. He was raised by one of the Shirokin after all, and you know that they were the one who's always managed to steal their hearts in time of great pain and hate. He will undoubtedly carry on that ideal. As for what I've seen, he has cared a great deal about that person. Now be slowly removing the curse, which in 3 years' time will be completely lifted, at which the villagers' guinea exam will be commenced. By doing that, I will ensure that he will form no permanent bonds with anyone within the village, and that his bond to the one who showed him love cements itself within his heart. The other creatures knew geology within the physical plane. Looking slightly confused, Kami decided to voice her confusion that she didn't understand why he would remain neutral after all that would possibly happen in the future. Wait, Anarchy, why would he remain neutral? Won't people ignore him after he's experienced love, make him hate them more? Especially if his family continues to love each other and continues to leave him on the side. Or if his siblings or the other harass and antagonize him due to him being a social outcast of the village. But once again, her brother reassured her with a smile. Don't worry, Kami John. He won't give into that hate. He was raised by his brother to have a strong and sturdy heart that can endure the weak one which will give him to the hate. I have assured you as my status as the one who reigns over death and as your older brother that he will not give into the hate that the physical plane has. Trust your Anarchy once in a while, alright? Jimmy Gumby comfortably said, looking at his sister with confidence radiating in his eyes. Her brother's confidence eventually won her over as she accepted his plan. All right, Annika, I'll trust you. Just don't do this kind of thing ever again without consulting me first. Kami bashfully told her brother. Chuckling, he wrapped her arms around his sister's neck and pulled her in, ruffling her hair as Kami turned bright red with a sudden show of affection. However, her blissful moment of bonding with her brother was ruined. Kami, why are you so red? Don't tell me you're getting sick. Guys can get sick, can we? Eyebrows started to twitch as her brother immediately started freaking out about guys catching mortal illness, and she fell in his lap. Flustered and River Kami kicked her brother where the spiritual sun don't shine. Then she huffed and walked away as her brother collapsed to the ground, withering and agony, clutching his blessing. Males are all stupid. God. Males are all stupid. Human or God. Baka Aniki. Kami angrily said the first part, but moment the last part. Her face still slightly red with anger and embarrassment. Time skip 3 years later. Scene change. Konoha Academy. Konoha Academy has a place for children to prepare for a career of being shinobi or kunoichi to protect and serve the village. In the classroom, being held by Chunin, Ruku, Umino, and Mizuki were the next generation of potential ninjas that will be united under the will of fire. In particular, class held the most notable students in the academy. Sitting in front of the row was Menma Uzumaki Namikaze with his best friend Kiba Inazuka, son of the Inazuka clan head. Besides, there were Menma's sister Mito and Naruma Uzumaki Namikaze with their best friends Yakumo Kurama and Hinata Hyuga. Next to them were the Uchiha twins Sasuke and Sasasuke. There were usual scout present. Behind them in the second row were best friends Shikamaru Nara and Tojo Akamichi, son of Nara and the Akamichi clan heads respectively. Next to them sat Yamanaka, daughter of the Yamanaka clan, and Saka Haruno, the daughter of a renowned civilian family, best friends and rivals in love for the affection of two most popular boys in the class. Finally, in the last row of the room sat the quietest individual of the class, Shino Aparame, son of the Aparame clan head. In the aisle next to Shino sat the side, quiet and autistic individual with no family known. Lastly, next to the window in the back of the class sat Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, the oldest of the Uzumaki Namikaze siblings, and the most distant. As Haruka and Mizuki called the rope before getting ready for the beginning exam, everyone quieted down, some nervous, others excited for the exam to commence. Exam consists of multiple parts. A written portion will cover basic in history and text. A physical portion will consist of taijutsu sparring with an instructor and the use of kunai and shuriken. And the last ninjutsu portion, which tested the proficiency of using the Academy 3. The three being Hinge no Jutsu, Bushin no Jutsu, and Kawari Mi no Jutsu, all of which were needed to be used successfully in order for an Academy student to pass. However, there were extra credit or replacement opportunity in which, if the student performed a jutsu outside of those three, which would replace the one they had failed to do or add extra points to their exam, which could be the difference between becoming the Rookie of the Year. Seeing the looks of apprehension and excitement on his student faces, Iruka couldn't help but smile and formally begin the exams. Alright, well, I know that a lot of you are nervous and excited, so let's begin. I switched to start calling students to the test. Overall, all the students of the class had passed, many exceeding the needed benchmark, which made Iruka a proud teacher. However, when it came to the oldest of the Uzumaki no Mikaze, he couldn't help but feel a little guilty having seen how far behind he was compared to his other students. He was known about the stigma that Naruto held, being the oldest of the child of the clan, yet being the weakest. Iruka knew that he should have tried to help his student more, but he couldn't for some reason. He blamed on the fact that it would probably be seen as favoritism, and he didn't want that. But looking back, it probably would have been the right thing to do, despite what people would have said. Naruto was probably tired of dead last of the year next to the children who weren't serious and becoming injured. He managed to pass by skinning his teeth on the written and physical exam, scoring usually 1 point over the failing threshold, and his kunai shuriken 1 point over the needed amount to pass. Something about the result seemed so strange. He brushed it off as a mere coincidence. Stepping back to the present, Iruka found himself staring to nebulize the very student who he was thinking about. No matter how many times he saw it, the lack of light that should be in the student's the child's eyes were non-existent in his. Now his eyes were dull and didn't hold the twinkle or spark that other kids had his age had. Rather, his eyes looked like they were neutral to the world, but he quickly regained his focus and proceeded with the exam. Smiling wildly, Iruka handed Naruto his headband with the congratulations in hand. You realize, Naruto, I know that you will succeed out there in the field. However, instead of a smile or hug, he had blinked there and smiled back and a quiet thank you before his student left the academy for home. I feel like you're going to become a great ninja, a great shinobi, Naruto. I'm sorry that I couldn't support you throughout your schooling here, and I'll definitely try to help you out there. Looking at the retreating form of his student, Iruka especially final thoughts before calling the next person in line for the test. Scene change outside the academy. After receiving his headband, Naruto put it into his pocket before he started on his way home. The last few years since his Anarchy had passed away was difficult, not from the treatment that he received from the people around his village, but from the scroll that he received from him. Looking back when he was coping with Ryu's death, he was acting like a spoiled bird who had their favorite toy taken away, angry lashing out at anyone and hating the world for taking away the one person who cared for him in the world. That all changed once he actually looked inside the scroll that his brother had left him. Flashback start 2.5 years ago. Hold on the same shoreline that him and his brother were on when they first met. Naruto still couldn't get over the fact that his brother were gone, even after half a year of grieving. Why? Why do I always have to have something taken away from me? First it was my family love, and now Ryu Nichan. Why? Naruto was growling progressively more and angry and hateful at this world who took away the only person who cared for him, and was about to do something regrettable that it was until a scroll fell out of his backpack and stood up. Looking down, he immediately recognized that the last gift he had gotten from both his brother and anyone in the past few years. He had forgotten about it, having never opened it after figuring out that he'd never see his brother again. Holding the scroll carefully, it unraveled and saw a seal. Recognizing it as a simple storage seal, it released whatever was inside, which was a note. Reading it over, Naruto started to tear up, threatening his grip slightly and by extension crumbling the note a little. Naruto, as you're reading these things, you probably know that I'm not going to be with you any longer. I'm sorry, and I'm so sorry, Naruto. I'm sorry that I won't be able to see you graduate that kid. I'm sorry I won't get to celebrate your birthday anymore with you. I'm sorry that I won't be able to bear you on your date with your girlfriend. I'm sorry that I'm such a horrible brother. I know that you'll probably never forgive me for leaving you behind, but know this. Know that I'll always be looking out for you. Even now, I'm looking out for you. I know that you're upset, hurt, angry, and sad, and 100 other things, but never give in to any of those negative emotions. Otato. They only lead to pain and more hate. I know that you're stronger than that, and I'm the one who trained you, who did train you. Remember? Now inside a piece of paper is what I promised you on that day. It's in a large scroll which only get opened by smearing your blood on it with a little bit of chocolate. but it contains everything that I said it would. It has my life savings down to the last real seal within it, my family techniques and secrets, my own techniques and secrets, the weapons that I've collected, and my own swords. It also contains all my research on the information on various things in the world that I hope you never reveal to anyone else. In addition, it also contains my family summoning contract. Once you're old enough, sign it, and you'll be reversed summoned to 1,000 Blade Mountain, the home of the dragons. Yes, Naruto, the same dragons I told you the stories about. Once there, don't be afraid. They act all big and mean and scary, but once you break past their scales, they're very kind of loyal. As for my papa Jiho and ask for my partner Jiho and tell him that you're my little brother. He'll defend and vouch for you. After all that is seldom, find a partner who will compliment you and that you can bond with. You know when you find them, trust me. You don't know when you find them, trust me. Now also remember that no matter what anyone says, you're the strongest and kindest person that I ever known. And I had the pleasure to call you my little brother. Don't give it to hate that plagues the land. Rise above it and prove that you have the blood of a dragon running through your veins. I made a training schedule for you of Tai, Nin, Ken, and a little bit of Funjutsu for you for the next few years, along with training from the elders until you turn 18. I know that you'll be able to follow it and benefit from it after that. I'm sure you'll have already mastered everything that I have to teach you. And lastly, find someone who you can relate to and get to know them. Find someone who you can trust without reason. If possible, find happiness with someone, Naruto. I know that you will make me proud and that you'll become a great shinobi. So until we meet again in the afterlife, remember that I love you and that I'm always watching over you. By the end of the letter, Naruto was sobbing loudly, wiping his tears with the sleeve of his jacket after sobbing for over half an hour. Naruto made a promise that he would follow what his brother asked him to train and also hopefully find happiness. But as for Naruto was concerned, becoming strong was the only top priority on his list. The first thing he did was nick his thumb and smear the blood over the scroll and began training. Real Nietzsche, I'll become strong so that once we meet again, I'll be able to stand next to you as your brother. Flashback end. Assigned to himself, he could only be embarrassed that he acted like he did. His partner would be mortified if he ever found out. But once he got a real depth, he began to notice the things that started to unnerve him greatly. Over the past 2 years, he started to notice that people were starting to pay more attention to him. It really started out small, where people are actually looking at him instead of through him. That would have been fine as he really didn't want anything to do with people, as he has only been objective was to follow his training schedule. However, last year when it got to the point where they started talking to him. Really, he wanted to ignore them like they had done to him, but he remembered that his brother asked him to be above the hate, and doing that would undoubtedly cause people to hate him. So he set up for giving quick responses, which worked for quite some time. That's until the family started to try to talk to him. Remember, with the same arrogant, obnoxious person Naruto remembered him to be. Mito and Naruto acted like nothing had ever come between them, talking to him in an overly familiar way, which irritated him to no end. And his parents was roast. They tried to coddle him like some child. They were a few years late for that, as he had already had a self-sufficient by the time Ryu had adopted him as his younger brother. It got worse when they tried to include him in their training session, which he always skipped out of. The training years behind him, the training years behind his is his opinion. Though he desperately wanted to snap at them and demand the reason as to why they were suddenly act like he always existed, like he knew it would be a waste of time in the end. He treated them the same way he treated everyone else, distant without any form of attention. But slowly, real words of not giving in to the hate and finding happiness in life were starting to take effect on him. While he knew he wouldn't love his family, he wouldn't hate them either, or at least not until they did something together, one or the other. Garner one or the other. His thoughts were broken when he spotted the same people he was just talking about. His family happily chatting with other families about the kids, closing his eyes and ignoring the happenings around him. He just carried on his way home. That just when someone put their hand on his shoulder. He didn't even need to open his eyes to know it belonged to his father many times. Cracking one eye, he glanced at his father with the same dull look in his eyes to question him as to why he stopped. He was stopped. Is there a reason why you're stopping me? Naruto asked, his voice quiet without a hint of warmth or familiarity. He had seen his oldest walking out the classroom alone, without waiting for his sibling to finish. The thought it might help mend the relationship they had. He stopped his son. However, while he expected the tone of voice and looked at his son, it pained him greatly. Over the course of the past 2 years, Minato had begun to notice that he didn't feel the unease that he used to feel when he saw Naruto before. But he felt the same way he did about a stranger acting with his family. But this slowly started to change. At first, he was suspicious, but at the time, the feeling of ease completely disappeared and was replaced with a longing to reconnect with his son. However, his plan to reconnect with Naruto, the family failed miserably. He avoided speaking to any of them for more than a sentence too, if they were lucky. And when he did speak, he spoke with an overly familiar manner, his voice quiet without a hint of warmth, not even calling him Tosan and Kushina Kasan anymore. It was literally speaking to a stranger one had just met. The Minotaur wasn't deterred, he was sent on reconnecting the bond that they had all once had. I wanted to ask why you're leaving already. Aren't you going to wait for your siblings to finish, Naruto? He commented in a soft tone of voice, and Naruto had only recently been exposed to personally. Naruto was like to hear from someone other than Rio. I'm sorry, Minato-san, but I would not know why I wait for them. Please excuse me. As he turned to leave, he was met by the redhead missile, his mother Kushina. Kushina and Minato lost the apprehension that she used to have when she saw and interacted with Naruto and was doing her absolute best to try and get her son back into the family, though she was met with the same treatment as her husband and everyone else for that matter. Now, John, congrats on passing your Guinea exams. Where were you going? You were going to wait for your siblings to finish, right? Kushina released Naruto from a hug and asked him in a confused manner. She looked at Minato and saw him shake his head, which made her frown. Naruto, you need to wait for your siblings to, it's only polite since they're your family. Kushina scolded Naruto, however, he just looked back with her with the same blank navy blue eyes before retorting. Kushina-san, you know that they never been made to wait for me before. Why should I be expected to wait for them when they haven't shown the same courtesy to me? Naruto questioned. Kushina went to the midst of calling her Cosmo brushed off. She found herself unable to answer a question. He was right in his statement. She never made any of her other children wait for their older brother, but the only served to feel her desire to unite her family once for all. Naruto, I know that we're not on the best of terms as a family, but I know that for a long, long time. But we've been very bad parents, and your siblings haven't been the best either. But we're still a family, and your family needs to care for each other and stick together. Kushina spoke in a soft tone, looking at her oldest in her eyes. Once Kushina said the word, Naruto flashed back to his memories that he shared with Ryuhei. Family is supposed to love you unconditionally and care for you without having to be asked to. But what you told me, they aren't your family. They're just people who share the same blood as you. That alone does not define family. Snapping out of his short scroll through his memories, he figured it'd be less of a hassle. He just entertained the request. Crossing the dorm, Naruto returning towards the academy, waiting for his siblings to emerge. Senior older listened to the request and accepted to make Kushina and Minato happy beyond words. If the matching smiles on their face were any indication, they knew that they would have a long and difficult road to building their relationship with their son. But they owed it to him. The guilt and shame that played with their hearts were unfathomable, and seeing how the oldest was practically a stranger in his own family tore at their heart. They knew that it was their fault and theirs alone. Over the last 2 years, the feeling that they should have had for him slowly started to surface for the first time in their lives, and they alone confused and frightened them. For viewing their oldest son as a stranger and a potential threat to the safety of their family, seeing him as what he really was. As the oldest son who they love and care for, it baffled them to no end, but after having a heart to heart with each other, Minato and Kushina had promised to reconnect with their oldest son and give him the love that he deserved and more. Soon the two were broken out of the thoughts as they were the telltale signs of the youngest daughter if her child Tosan and Kachan were any indication. Narumi Day couldn't have gotten better. She had just passed her getting exam and made it as the top Konoichi of the year and the rookie of the year, along with her brothers and sisters. Though there was one thing that did make her sad was that the love and attention for her older brother Naruto. She knew that she would never the ideal sister towards her brother ever since she could remember. She felt afraid of him when they were growing up. She could remember that whenever she would try and ask him to play with her or talk to him, the feeling of fear that would overtake her heart and cause her to stop. Only got worse as she grew up. As she got older, whenever she would see her big brother, something inside her as a human being screamed that he was dangerous and to stay away from him at all costs. Of course, was a child then and followed her instincts, but looking back, she regretted every moment of it. The last 2 years, granted, the primary fear that she had for her brother slowly started to fade away, and this place was replaced with adoration and a desire for her brother to accept and forgive her for all she'd done. Now, the only thing that stood in the way of her loving brother was himself, but that wasn't going to stop her from getting what she wanted. Everyone knew that Uzumaki never gave up until they got what they wanted. At the kitchen side of her brother's striking crimson red hair and her falling brilliant smile, now Jillian ran towards him, happiness inside and filling her heart. She's about to lunch with everything when she cuts out of her slightly darker shade of brother of blonde next to them. It was her brother Naruto. Her brother was waiting for her. He was really waiting for her. Did he finally forgive her? A light in her pink cloud of her cheeks as she changed the direction of her hug instead of her parent. Lunch said to her brother, Naruto, Narumi squealed happily with the affection that she met her target, wrapping her brother in a hug. Now, did you wait for me? Did you really? I hope you didn't wait too long. I'm sorry if you did. I really am. Now to find out questions as to her how long her brother had waited and if he did it especially for her. To say Naruto wasn't comfortable would be putting it lightly. While he did expect to be greeted by his own brother and sister, he wasn't prepared to be glummed by her unless it was contact was prior. He didn't do well with physical contact with others, and he wasn't quite used to it yet. Slowly, he managed to detach the blonde from himself, was met with a pout in return. To answer your question, I was waiting for all of you to finish, and no, I didn't wait long. Naruto replied in his usual deadpan voice. Though not deteriorating Numa for the long after hugging and getting a congratulation from her parents, she went back to Naruto and hugged his arm to her chest with a cheery smile on her face. Okay, Naruto, we'll for me, Mito and Mimini together then. Naruto checked with her smile. Much of Naruto's charging. Naruto could only side sisters together. She tightened her grip on her. Off to the side, Minato Kushina could only smile at the scene. Naruto always managed to ignore Naruto managed to ignore the cold and distant order Naruto had, and it always warmed their hearts to see their youngest able to breach the army around her son's heart. So despite the blonde and the crisp hair, the two remaining children both with their smiles on their face. Memo was feeling like he was at the top of the world. Not only did he score the getting exam, but he was sure that he'd be the one who would become the Rookie of the Year. However, his mood quickly rose as he saw his family waiting for him with smiles on their faces. Quickly in his pace, he ran towards them only for his mood to drop like a rock in the lake. He saw his brother there as well. It was known in the village that Memo didn't like his brother. The word most would use were detested or disgusting. However, that was how Miller truly felt. Memo had admired his older brother when they were young, always imitating what he would do when they were children. But as he grew older, he began to feel inferior to his brother for some reason. It only grew as they did. Memo became more vocal and demanding when Naruto would speak his mind or give a suggestion. In order to overrule Naruto's suggestion with his own. Eventually, Memo's feelings turned into dislike, but eventually created a gap between the two. During the past 2 million years, Memo feeling of inferiority and hate began to fade away, though he still did not view Naruto as an equal, nor treat him any different. Memo had seen his grades, both written and physical. He knew that he was definitely stronger and smarter than his brother. Memo wouldn't be apologizing to his brother anytime soon. Not until Naruto was able to stand as equal. Though in a small part of his heart, Memo honestly didn't did want to become close to his brother again so that they would be able to do things that only brothers are able to do, like talk about which girl is the cutest, pulling pranks, and especially train together. Being as proud for his Memo wouldn't be admitting that anytime soon. His face vividly sour. Remember sneering at his brother. What the heck are you doing here, loser? Shouldn't you still be begging since to let you pass? Spat his eyes narrow. Minato and Kushina were well aware of their son's volatile relationship. What they didn't think about it was bad, but before they could say anything, the family member of their family spoke out in her older brother's defense. Minato was rather happy and ecstatic. She had seen her older brother pass his test, and the possibility that they would be on the same team had increased. Like Naruto when she was young, Mito had a primary fear of her brother for the Scrum region. Like everyone else within the last few years, her fear disappeared and was replaced with the same adoration and a desire for her older brother's love and affection that Narumi had. Though unlike her sister, Mito didn't rush in like Narumi did. Her philosophy was trying to slowly work her way back into her older brother's heart. But there were times where she would break that, and this one was the time. Remember, didn't you see that Naruto was one of the first to earn his headband? You're always sitting in the front of class, aren't you? Mito said, her eyes narrowed as Mima and saw towards the other brother. So when she saw her younger sister so close to him, Mito's eyes twitching both irritation and jealousy. But before anything else, Naruto decided to speak up. When I let the exams, I'll be seeing you all later. Manages to once again pull his arm from his younger sister's grasp. Naruto started walking away, unconcerned with just like her look in his family eyes and the angry look in Mima's eyes. Guess making him wait for everyone to finish was asking for too much, Minakun Kushina said, sadly looking at her at the retreating form of her son, feeling their arm wrap around her waist. Minato pulled her in close and gave her a reassuring squeeze. It'll be okay, Kushina-chan. After comforting his wife, Minato turned towards his main children. Alright, kids, why don't we get something special to eat and on our leave become beginning. Instantly he got eager nods from all his kids, though he voiced one voice his concern. Naruto son, what about Naruto? Shouldn't we go get him? Narumi asked the questions both her and Mito's mind, and even in the time of many Minma's smiled at her consideration of her older brother. Minato patted her head. You know your brother likes his space, Yubi-chan, and we all be able to have dinner together one day, I promise. Seeing his daughter sadly nodded her head, he decided to take the lead and lead him into the village for a night of celebrations. Scene change. Unknown lake. As Naruto listened to the soft blow of the breeze, he didn't notice the silhouette of a person sitting down next to him. As the wind blew his hair gently, the silhouette slowly reached over and ruffled his hair. as he felt warm and familiar sensation. Naruto slowly descended to the world of sleep. As his mind slowly slowed, the ambient noises of the wind quieted to nothing. He caught a voice from wind. Naruto fell asleep, never noticing the tears that were falling down his face. And the congratulations, Otato, a son forgotten. Part 2. This was very long, and I probably, if it's this long, it's gonna take me a minute to upload videos because my voice has not been doing well over the past few days. Anyway, like and subscribe, comment, and share. Yeah, and this is Maze Gamer coming to you with another video after, and after this, it'll probably be like 2 or 3 days before I upload another video. So be prepared, and yeah, peace.